1 minute. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone to the April 21st, 2026 school board meeting. As we begin our program, we will open with an invocation. Please welcome Pastor Joshua Hawley from the Tabernacle Church.
Good morning. Superintendent Connor, to the members of the board and the citizens of our great Sarasota County, I'd like to read to you today from Psalms chapter 133, verse 1. It says, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity." I believe it's the heart of our city and our citizens that we could all truly be in unity with one another. That sounds great, but how do we do that? It's a hard thing to accomplish. Well, in James chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "Do any of you need wisdom? Ask God for it. He is generous and enjoys giving to everyone, so he will give you wisdom." With that in mind, let's pray and ask God for some wisdom to lead and guide today. Jesus, we thank you that you are the source of truth, wisdom, and peace. We ask that you would be honored in this room. Holy Spirit, come and lead this meeting. Guide every one of our board members, every official, and every leader represented here. Lord, we ask that you give them wisdom beyond human ability, discernment beyond politics, and courage beyond pressure. Help them to make decisions that reflect justice, serve families well, and honor the trust given to them by the people of this county. Lord, we pray that their leadership would be marked by integrity, humility, and a sincere desire to serve the citizens who've helped place them into this office. And Father, we also pray for the people of Sarasota County as well. Let every person in this room carry themselves with respect, honor, civility, and self-control. Lord, when there's strong opinions, help us to have grace. Where there's disagreements, help us to have decency and order. Help us to listen well, speak carefully, and remember our shared responsibility to seek the good of our community. Lord Jesus, let your peace rule and reign in this room today. Let your wisdom lead our minds and our hearts, and would your name be honored here. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. And then today, our student representative is Isabella Ramsey from Northport High School, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in standing, remove your hat, and silence your cell phone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as I mentioned, our student representative today is Isabella Ramsey, a junior who will be the 26-27 State of Florida President of the Technology Student Association. Welcome, Isabella. Can you tell us more about yourself?
Hi, I'm Isabella Ramsey, and I'm a junior at Northport High School. I'm an active member in a lot of clubs such as Mu Alpha Theta, National Technical Honor Society, Physics Club, Chess Club. However, my favorite is TSA, or the Technology Student Association. In TSA, we compete in competitive STEM-based events at the regional, state, and national level. I personally compete in debating technology issues. I've placed first at the state level and fourth at the national level, and I'm super excited to compete this year at nationals, Washington, D.C. again. I first started TSA in 8th grade and became a state officer in 10th grade. Next year, I was elected to be the Florida TSA state president, where I will be the president and lead over 50,000 members of TSA. As president, it is going to be my duty to lead not only myself, but the other state officers in organizing our conferences, such as the Leadership Conference with over 500 participants and the State Conference with over 3,000 participants. After high school, I'm unsure exactly what I want to do. However, I'd like to go into quantum chemistry or quantum physics to help with research in quantum teleportation. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Well, you are a tremendous public speaker. You can tell you had some experience, and the quantum physics, we need a lot of that, especially as we move towards AI, and so you are a wonderful representation of our district. Thank you again for joining us today. Moving, I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the posted additions after the original publication. Is there a motion? 3.1.
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the April 21st, 2026 agenda as submitted on April 14th with the following changes, addendum added to the Human Resources Personnel Report.
I have a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a tied second. I'll go with Mrs. Rose. And are there any comments? Seeing none, members vote. I believe we have the computer up today and it's working. All right, so everyone can vote digitally. And the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item, we have the financial audit presentation. I will kick it over to Mr. Connor, if you'd like to present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're going to have a presentation from our external auditor, Purvis Gray, as it relates to the result for the year-ending budget of June 30th, 2025. So I will pass it over to Purvis Gray at this time.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tiffany Mangold, audit partner with Purvis Gray, and I have with me in the audience Ken Lee, audit manager. We are your external auditors for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. And so I'm just going to go over the results of the audit. This is a picture of your leadership team, myself and Mr. Lee, as well as Mr. Sandstrom, who is the director of IT, audit, and assurance. And we also have a team of another 7 or 8 auditors that come on site, audit the schools individually, and audit the district. So I'm going to focus the first half of the presentation on the district itself, and then I'm going to change over to the internal accounts, which would be all of the schools. So bear with me, it's 2 presentations in one. So this is a report summary of which reports I'll be presenting to you today. The financial statement and independent auditors reports includes the district and internal accounts, which are each audited by Purvis Gray. And the charter schools are audited by various other auditors, but they are included as a column in the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. There's also a report on your internal controls and compliance that are affecting your financial reporting, and compliance with the state statute, Florida Statute 218-415, as well as the Auditor General's management letter and the federal single audit at the district only. So the first report I have for you today is your independent auditor's report. There is a clean opinion on this report. It means your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. That's a clean opinion, the highest level of assurance that you can receive from an audit. It does go on to state that it's management's responsibility to prepare these financial statements and for the design and implementation and maintenance of internal control, and our responsibility as auditors to issue an opinion on those financial statements. The next report is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. So here we look at your internal controls and how they relate to your financial systems and financial reports. We don't issue an opinion on them, but we do identify if there are any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to relate to you. A material weakness is a deficiency or a combination of deficiencies in internal control, such that there is a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement will not be prevented or detected and corrected on a timely basis. And a significant deficiency is a deficiency or combination of deficiencies in internal control that there's less severe than a material weakness, yet still important enough to bring to the attention of those charged with governance. So for the district, I'm pleased to state there were no material weaknesses and no significant deficiencies to report for you. Also, no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. We then look at your investments and your compliance with Florida Statute 218-415, and we found the district to be fully in compliance with the local government investment requirements. Because you expend a lot of grant funds, you have federal funds, it was $64 million last year, we also need to do an audit over those. So we have each major program that we looked at, and I'm pleased to also state no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in those major federal programs, and no instances of non-compliance were reported either. The management letter is another letter that's required by the Auditor General, and so here we would state anything that did not rise to that level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, but it was still something that could improve financial management, or if you had any thing from prior year that we needed to report on. So we had no findings of deteriorating financial condition or financial emergency to report. There was one prior year finding on some FEMA funds that were obligated last year, not included in the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, but that has been resolved. There's nothing this year, so one prior year finding is considered resolved, and we had no written recommendations for financial management and no non-compliance, fraud, waste, or abuse discovered. So clean in all of those. This report is my favorite. It's a nice summary of everything we just went over. If you were looking in the ACFR, this is that. It tells you exactly which major programs we selected for testing for the federal audit as well, for the single audit. And again, no current year findings to report on there. And there is a separate section on page 2, which you cannot see in this picture, on the summary schedule of the prior audit finding that I just went over for you. There's a governance letter. This is a technical letter designed for those in charge of overseeing the audit. It's specific information we're required to report to you. And so the most significant estimates of the year were fair value of investments, accumulated depreciation and depreciation expense, Florida retirement system and other post-employment benefits, liabilities, deferrals, and expenses, insurance claims payable, compensated absences liability, indirect cost allocations, and then assumptions used to calculate the present value of leases and subscription-based information technology arrangements and assets and liabilities. There were 2 new standards that came into effect this year, GASB 101 and GASB 102. GASB 101 is on compensated absences, and it changed how that's being reported across all governmental entities. There was not a material effect on you all based on how you were doing it, but you did implement that standard, as well as GASB 102, which is certain risk disclosures, and you also implemented that standard. So each of those were implemented as they should have been, but no material impact on the district's financial statements. The financial statement disclosures are all considered to be neutral, consistent, and clear. If there was one thought we should bring to your attention specifically, we would include that there in that comment. Difficulties encountered in performing the audit. We encountered no significant difficulties in dealing with management and performing and completing our audit. And adjustments detected by the audit process, we had a couple financial statement reclasses, but no actual audit adjustments, but they're still required to be considered adjustments in our terminology in the report. And management recorded all of those financial statement reclasses. Disagreements with management, we had none. So we'd especially like to thank your finance team for their professionalisms, courtesies, and other assistance during the engagement. And other audit findings or issues, there was one item that came to our attention, segregation of duties conflicts in Skyward. So you went over to Skyward this year, and so with that comes a lot of gaps. You know, you have to make sure that you have the right people, the users are segregated properly, and so we did determine that there was some segregation of duties issues that needed to be strengthened a little bit. And so we met with your IT team, we've met with your board chair and your superintendent, as well as your deputy superintendent, and gone over this as well with our IT audit director. And when we discussed it, the IT team was already making some of these changes. It came with some of the implementation. You have to have a super user to give access to some of their employees and segregate those duties. And so in this case, that just needs to be cleaned up. And so the response was that it should be cleaned up in the very beginning of this time. So March 2026, we just got on site this morning, so we have not determined if that's fully cleaned up, but we expect that to be hopefully cleared up by next year when we come back to report for you. That is expected in a first year implementation, so nothing to be too alarmed with, but we did think it needed to be communicated to you. Significant risks identified. There's a couple things that should be in the engagement letter when you receive an engagement letter or required communication letter from the auditor, or if they're discovered during the audit, we'll communicate them during this time. And so the risks of management override and of internal controls is on every engagement that we have. Revenue recognition also on every engagement. The 2 that were a little bit different for you all was there's some changes in key management personnel that was affecting the audit and change in the accounting software. So those did alter a little bit of our audit and our risks this year. 2 new standards that are coming into play this next year, June 30th, 2026, GASB 103 and GASB 104. GASB 103 does change the presentation of your financial statements. It requires more detail in your management's discussion and analysis. So there's no more where anybody can say, it changed for a variety of reasons. You have to specifically say, it changed because personnel increased this much because we approved 3% in the budget or something along those lines. So that is coming this year, as well as they're just changing a lot of the presentation. So unusual and infrequent items, proprietary fund statements are being changed, what's operating, what's non-operating, major component unit presentation, and then budgetary comparison. This is adding a new column in there. It will be beginning balance or beginning budget, and then adjusted budget, and there will be a variance column for you there. So all of this is just presentation changes, nothing that's going to actually change your numbers. And then GASB 104 is on disclosure of certain capital assets. When we had GASB 96, I think it was, and 87 that came out, a lot of people lumped those together. This is when you implemented leases and subscription-based IT arrangements. And so people put those together in their capital assets. They're asking that they be separated now. So if you have a building lease or a vehicle lease, those need to be separately presented. So again, just presentation, not changing your numbers. And therefore, those are the two for that. So that is the end of the district portion of the audit. Clean report, that one item on the governance letter, segregation of duties, but it's never fun to have an auditor for the first year. So we do appreciate all of their help with this engagement. Next, I'm going to move over to the internal accounts. This is where we look at all of your different schools, and we do receipts and disbursement testing for each school. We also look at the riskier schools from the prior year audits, do a little bit more in depth. We go on site some of the schools that are a little bit riskier, and so I'll present those results now. The reports look the same, so the independent auditor's report, again, fairly stated in all material respects, and an unmodified or clean opinion there for you. Same management's responsibility, auditor's responsibility. Material weakness, we did not have any material weaknesses to report to you. We did have two significant deficiencies that we want to report to you. The first was on financial close and reconciliation procedures. This was at STC. There was some variation in there wasn't a great reconciliation process at the end of the audit or at the end of the fiscal year to the financial system. So there was accounts payable and accounts receivable that needed to be adjusted to properly reflect your accounting software. There is a difference between your Edge software and your Focus software. Focus is the student side, and Edge is what is getting reported in the financial statements. And so in that, we discovered some audit adjustments. And so we have recommended that they strengthen the financial close and reconciliation procedure for year-end audit. The second one is application of scholarship and veteran affairs. And so veteran payments. In this case, there was scholarships in the liability account still that had actually gone to some student accounts properly, but they weren't being reduced as a liability. So it still showed that STC had these on their books as due to someone else, but in reality, they were actually expended. They were actually revenue that should have been recorded on the students' accounts. And so we have talked to them very detailed about this. I went on site for 2 days and met with everyone at STC. The interim executive director was incredibly helpful. Your finance team here was incredibly helpful. They provided me everything, access to everything. And I think we have a good plan, and I believe these will all be resolved next year. No instances of non-compliance or other matters were required to be reported, so there was nothing of non-compliance. Also no fraud or anything discovered. It was just financial reporting sides. The management letter here, again, required by the Auditor General, we had no findings of deteriorating financial condition or financial emergency, and no non-compliance of fraud, waste, or abuse. There were two other recommendations for financial management. The first one is a prior year recommendation on before and after care procedures and the segregation of duties there. We did discover that there are still two schools that, from what we can see, that still have the same individual doing the bookkeeping and taking in the cash payments for aftercare. And so we recommend that those be separated, segregated. And that was carried over, so we're still carrying it forward, and we're hoping that that will be resolved for the June 30th, 2026 audit. And one new one is lack of bank reconciliations. This was another STC one. And so the college had not been doing their bank reconciliations for the entire fiscal year. That has been completely cleared up as of today. We talked to one of the individuals in your finance department, and they have been reconciled through March of 2026. It was reconciled through through June of 2025, so we could do the audit, but that was the reason this entire audit got delayed, just for your information. And so they're working with your finance department over here at the districts, and it should be hopefully cleared up going forward. So they're reconciling them timely now, but that was the recommendation. No new accounting policies were adopted, so they are still, GASB 101 and GASB 102 still technically had to be implemented. They just don't impact the schools at all, so they're not impacting the financial statements in any way. The financial statement disclosures were all neutral, consistent, and clear. The only difficulty we encountered was the availability of the records for Suncoast Technical College. And then the adjustments detected by the audit process, this is some of the reasons that we had those segregation or significant difficulties in management letter comments. We had to reduce accounts payable for overstated scholarship balances and recognize the revenues and receivables, increase accounts receivable and related revenue for balances paid after year end, but before the subsidiary report was produced. So in that case, June 30th is the date we're looking at. The report was run in November. And so anybody who paid between that time frame was not included in the initial report that was provided to us. And so that part was not material, but it still is not correct. So they did go back, they were able to run reports, figure out who paid during that time frame, and the financial statements are materially correct at this time. But that was an adjustment that we had to do. And that is just a reporting issue. So they're trying to implement things that can lock the reports at June 30th. So anything is at that date. And then the beginning balance did have an adjustment to properly reflect understated revenues and overstated transfers out to the school district from the prior year. These were all intermingled things. When we were looking at them, they were all related. And so that original comment here on financial close and reconciliation procedures should help clean all of that up at the end of the year, this next go round. Disagreements with management, we had none. Would like to thank the principals and bookkeepers and again the finance team for their cooperation through the audit process. No one likes to see an auditor at their office, at their site, so they were really helpful and giving us everything and forthcoming with everything that we asked for, so we do appreciate that. And significant risks identified, again, this is just some other things that came up as a result of the audit. The first two are management override of internal controls and revenue recognition, which were already in the engagement letter. The technical college bank reconciliations, financial closing reporting, and scholarship tracking are all related to STC, and also lack of reconciliation of the interfund receivables and payables. That was just an STC thing as well, not all the schools, it was just STC. So I do want to clarify that for you. So I ended on a great note right now. Overall, really great team to work with over here. Everyone did dive in deep for us and get us all of the records that we needed. And we all feel very confident in the numbers and understanding how STC works and exactly what should be reported. And so I do believe that most of this should be cleaned up in June 30th, 2026. And a lot of it is a result of having new auditors who are looking differently, looking at your balance sheets a little bit more detailed because we have to be comfortable with those beginning balance numbers. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. And I just for the record, I know each board member was briefed on the findings in advance of this. And in the spirit of transparency, we wanted to make sure that we put this forward publicly. As was noted, I think that there are a number of key positions that have changed in the last couple of years, notably at STC, but also as a CFO. I don't know, Mr. Connor, if you want to address any of the items that were brought forward, but I do appreciate you going into all those details.
Yes, thank you.
No, I want to thank you, Purvis Gray, for all the work. I know it's been a long, the audit's been several months, and proud to say that the district finance are in order, clean opinion. I know with STC, we had some change in leadership over there, as well as those who are working on some of the finance pieces at STC. We feel very confident under the direction of our new CFO that everything, those controls and those procedures and processes are in place, and the software will be aligned in terms of student records as well as the financial record keeping. So really good. We appreciate all the feedback and looking forward to next year.
We started today, so we're also looking forward to it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And just before anyone, members of the board, are there any questions or that you have? Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Connor, you up for the superintendent's report.
Wait 1 second while he changes over the PowerPoint. Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to start off with our consent agenda highlights. We have several things that we're excited about. We're continuing to add to the portfolio of our vocational instructional program agreements, where students with disabilities within the district are provided direct exposure to workforce and work skill development and job preparation in the field. And so we have a couple of agreements that we're adding to that portfolio. It's taking us closer to 40 agreements now, one of them being Habitat for Humanity South Sarasota County, and as well as CK Resorts. So eligible students with disabilities are going to be able to fulfill job roles in these particular areas, get hands-on experience, and develop in those areas so that they can be productive as they look for employability after high school. 9.5 is the approval of our student internship with the school district and the state of Florida State University. We're continuing our partnership with FSU to provide clinical field experience for students to complete their internships and hopefully gain employment with us here in Sarasota County. 9.7 is the affiliation agreement between the county and FAU. Again, adding to that portfolio of growing our own educators and giving opportunity for people to fulfill their clinical experiences here in the district is always a great tool for us in recruitment. 9.8 is the approval of the articulation agreement between SCF, State College of Florida, and the school district. This is our annual agreement, and this is all-encompassing with our early college program, where students can graduate with an AA degree along with their high school diploma and have other opportunities to engage in college-level coursework in dual enrollment classes. So we're really excited about what we're doing with SCF and the continued partnership, and I'm excited about what the future holds in expanding the ability for students to gain that college-level access during their time with us here in K-12. 9.13 is the approval of the property insurance renewal. Last board meeting, we talked about the premium, and we were happy to report that we would see a decrease in our overall premiums. We are recommending that we up our coverage back to where it was a couple of years ago, but still overall, we will have an overall decrease in that policy. So we just recently had the I Voted sticker contest with the supervisor of election, and 7th grader Fiona Tenuta from Sarasota Middle won this year's contest, and her design was one of more than 175 entries received across the county. And if you look behind Officer Kunsel over there, you'll see the sticker that's in the room, in the banner. This new sticker design will be used exclusively for Sarasota County in the November 3rd election. There you go. There, he's got it out of the way. And it's that time of year for student re-registration. It is open. Parents, we encourage you, if you are a parent of a current student, to re-register now. I know I've gotten a couple of feedback from parents about, I can't look at my student's grades until I re-register. Yes, we do require you to re-register. Even if you do not plan necessarily you're going to be moving away or you're not coming back, we ask you to go ahead and do that process. And this is for current students and first-time students. Please go into our website, sarasotacountyschools.net/register, to learn more about the process. But this just helps us in getting prepared for a successful school year in 26-27. It is that time for, if you are thinking about virtual school, Sarasota County offers its own virtual school. So you don't have to go to Florida Virtual. You can go to Sarasota Virtual School. Registration is open. It will close in August. And so if you are looking for a flexible, high-quality public school option and you want to do virtual school, we recommend that you choose SVS, Sarasota Virtual School. STC Student Showcase happened at Burns Court. It will be happening on May 26th at 5:30 at Burns Court Cinema in Sarasota. This is a free event highlighting the work of students in the digital video technology and digital cinema production and our digital design programs. There's no need to RSVP, just show up to Burns Court on May 26th. And we're happy to report know that new legislation passed this year around heart screenings that are required for student athletes. And so we have partnered with Who We Play For to provide screenings at a very low cost or no cost to our students. And the first two screening events at Booker High School in Northport were last week, and nearly 100 student athletes were screened. And beginning July 1st, if you are playing sports at high school, you are required to get an ECG screening prior to participating. So we are proud to partner with Who We Play For to offer these screenings throughout the year. And our next event will be at Riverview on May 13th, Welland Park on May 18th, and Venice High School on May 20th. You can receive your screening for $20. Times and registration links will be on our high school athletics page. And I'm really excited about an opportunity that we're going to be able to participate in as a community. As you know, this is the 25th anniversary of 9/11. And in partnership with Tunnelful Towers Foundation, we're going to be hosting an event in commemoration of this anniversary on Tuesday, May 19th at Emma E. Booker Elementary. As you probably remember, President Bush was at Emma E. Booker the day of the attacks. And so this event is a part of the Foundation's Seal Across America tour in recognition of the important role that the school played on that day. And the event is scheduled to start at 6 p.m., beginning entry at 5 p.m. So this is free and open to the public, so we encourage you to be a part of this memorable event. And don't forget, if you are registering for kindergarten, it's time to do it now. Kickoff to kindergarten events are 5:30 to 7:30 on April 21st at Garden Elementary, the 28th at STC on Beneva, and April 30th at STC Northport on Career Lane. So please come out, join the party, celebrate, and register for kindergarten at the Kickoff to K celebrations. And on Friday, April 24th, we will be having Spirit Night with the Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field. So if you are interested in traveling over to St. Petersburg to watch a game, you can get discounted tickets for $25. $5 for every ticket will come back to SCS. And that is my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions before moving on? Seeing none, we'll move on to the hearing of citizens. Welcome to the first hearing of citizens, a segment of our meeting. This time is for public comment on the agenda. Each speaker will state their full name and the county of residence for the record. They will have up to 3 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Respect for divergent opinions shall be recognized for all speakers. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Outbursts, applause, or other interruptions that disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated. Any person that interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting after first being warned that such continued interference will result in removal will be removed. There are speakers in the room behind me that allow board members to hear public comment when stepping away from the dais. When the name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. As a reminder, a recording cannot be played during your 3 minutes of public comment. We appreciate your cooperation. Let's begin with our first speaker. I have Christy Carwat and Dr. Jill Lewis-Spector.
Good morning. My name is Christy Carwat, and I'm a resident of Sarasota County. I'm here today to address Agenda Item 10.10. After reviewing the proposed policy description, the policy document, and the cited statutory authority, I have several concerns and questions. First, the description of the policy reads, "This policy was created at the request of the school board to address disruptive conduct and demonstration." Is that a correct statement? Shouldn't it read, "This policy was created at the request of Mrs. Ziegler to deter or punish student expression that disagrees with her views"? Why this policy and why now? Is this board so concerned about classroom disruptions and safety? If they were so concerned, why choose this issue? If you asked classroom teachers which types of disruptions and safety issues they are most concerned about, I suspect this one would be near the bottom of the list. Second, please clarify what is meant by school property, which is mentioned throughout the policy. The definition of demonstration in the policy includes activity that occurs on school property. Does this include district-owned property used for school board meetings, such as building grounds and parking lots? If a student attends a school board meeting and peacefully protests outside in the parking lot, would the student be subject to school disciplinary action? I hope Superintendent Connor can clarify this. The definition also includes symbolic expression. Would this include items such as a cross necklace or a Star of David? Or what if a club such as TPUSA wanted to wear matching shirts with a cross on them to school and in order to promote their organization? Something some people might view as political religious. Would that be considered a demonstration or symbolic expression under this policy? Could students be disciplined for wearing these shirts if others took offense and it caused disruption in the classroom? Third, the statutory authority cited for this policy includes Florida Statute 1001.41. And it reads, the district school board, after considering recommendations submitted by the district superintendent, shall exercise the following powers. Determine policies and programs consistent with law and rule deemed necessary by it for the efficient operation and general improvement of the district school system. Mr. Connor, did this policy originate with you? Based on the statute, the recommendation for this policy should have come from you, the district school superintendent. I'm wondering if it did. I don't think so. After reviewing the other referenced statutes and laws, I did not find any that clearly grants a board member direct authority to propose a policy like this. This policy should have come from the superintendent, or at least from those impacted by the school's disruptions. Once again, our students and staff are being used as political pawns. I think it's time to stop, Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. Dr. Jill Lewis-Spector, Robin Williams.
Good morning, Board and Superintendent Connor. I'm Dr. Jill Lewis-Spector, Sarasota resident, addressing item 10.10 that asks the Board to approve policy 5.301 on student disruptions and demonstrations. This policy is a deliberate effort to suppress student voices. In September 2025, the board majority passed a policy defining bullying as, quote, systematically and chronically inflicting physical hurt or psychological distress on one or more students and employees, end of quote. And after watching the school board operate the past several months and reading this policy and others recently passed, I've come to realize that some school board members are bullies. As another example, in 2025, the board majority changed its twice monthly 6 p.m. meeting to once at 10 a.m. And in December, it voted to publicize an excused absent policy that omitted student civic participation at school board meetings. Both policies prey upon the inability of students, as well as parents or teachers, to do anything about these changes. One can almost hear the board majority bullies in the schoolyard, like taunting, "What are you going to do about it?" In September 2025, the board majority amended the Student Code of Conduct, removing accurate and person-centered terms. The district's policy states bullying and harassment, quote, encompass perpetuation by an individual or group with intent to demean, dehumanize, embarrass, or cause emotional or physical harm to a student by incitement or coercion, end of quote. The board majority has been told repeatedly that students felt a lot safer under the original policy and how the change has increased stress and fear. The board majority falsely accused a popular student-led organization of, quote, encouraging student walkouts, end of quote, causing this group public or private humiliation, something the board's own policy constitutes bullying. The board's new policy, the one they'll vote on tonight, threatens severe consequences for students and teachers who participate in demonstrations. Such threats exemplify bullying and violate the board's own policy against coercion. The board's majority failure to respond to students' concerns about proposed policies is disrespectful. Students feel they have been coerced into accepting harmful policies that affect them deeply. Indeed, the school board majority are bullies. What are they going to do about it? More importantly, what are Sarasota's voters going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Williams, Corrine Prochnow.
Robin Williams, Sarasota. Vote no on Ready Florida Best Digital Access student sets and their teacher toolbox. While $166,000 isn't a big chunk of the budget, we're in a budget crisis, and it's far from best practices to sit kindergarten through fourth graders in front of a computer screen for remediation. It's the moneymaker for Curriculum Associates LLC, the same group that has iReady, but the data is not convincing even for older children, and too much screen time is harmful. On 1010, the raison d'etre for this policy didn't exist till the school board majority decided to make it next to impossible for all the key stakeholders to be able to attend school board meetings. For all their talk about wanting public input, they made sure to schedule school board meetings when no students, no teachers, nor most working parents could attend. I recall board member Edwards wanting to have data to support such a move by perhaps having some questionnaire of what times parents, teachers, students, and residents would prefer for meetings. Of course, that would have been the logical thing to do, the objective, evidence-based, data-driven thing to do. The majority accuses us of bringing politics in as they stir the pot. It's what is properly called projection. They accuse us of what they, in fact, have done repeatedly since they became the majority. Hopefully, the current board majority's time will end soon. We know what policies will need to be undone quickly, and when we have a new ed commissioner and state board of education, we know the myriad of things that need to be fixed. No more censored Florida edition textbooks, no more banned books, no more ideology masquerading as truth. Dealing with disruptive student behavior doesn't require new rules, nor do unexcused absences. There are existing rules for those. Once we have a new board majority, students will no longer have to miss school to attend school board meetings, as undoubtedly evening meetings will be reinstated, and the whole tempest in the teapot will cease to exist. Hopefully, they'll also get rid of the harmful ICE resolution instilling fear in our students and families, and get rid of your invocation policy, which blurs the separation of church and state and has proven to be insensitive to most non-Christians. It's also insensitive to some Christians, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Corrine Prochnow, Michelle Posey.
Good morning. My name is Corrine Prochnow. I'm a Sarasota County resident, and I am asking you to reject policy 5.301, student disruptions and demonstrations. Our schools already have clearly defined policies in place that cover freedom of speech, disruptions, and demonstrations. The current policy already prohibits violence and obstruction. So what is the point of this? How is this empowering every student to thrive in an ever-changing world? How is this policy engaging and elevating every student every day? And how is this an improvement to our school system? A protest policy should not discourage student participation, but rather clearly define what is and is not allowed. How else are they supposed to learn? So I ask again, what is the point of this policy, other than another pointless distraction, giving the board majority the opportunity to promote their personal ideologies and target those who do not align with them? Before you vote, I ask that you review the board's vision and mission statements and seriously question if this policy, as written, aligns with the vision and mission of Sarasota County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Posey, J.T. Pryor.
Hi, Michelle Posey. Thank you for having us here today. I do want to talk about policy 1010, which I actually give a 10 out of 10. You know why? Because we're asking ourselves, what does the community want to see in public schools? So I went about the campaign trail and I asked this question from students, from parents, from teachers who will speak to me outside of this room. And they would like to see a top-to-bottom district approach of streamlining not only code of conduct, but the way we at the district level stand behind those teachers and administrators. I had the pleasure of attending the Teens Anonymous Vaping Task Force last night, and I'm telling you, these students get it. They want to be held accountable because they understand a reprimand for the first offense means you're less likely to recommit the offense. So if we want stronger schools and more competitive schools, I think this is spot on with what our district should do. I just heard our wonderful superintendent talk about how we are working on programs in this district that will increase employability, something that as parents is important. I think it's important to our students. Well, employability means also accountability. Name one job, except maybe what I did formerly for a living, where you could show up and just tell your personal beliefs on politics right there as a representative of that employer. Name one job where you can pick and choose where you want to show up, whether or not there's something spicy going on politically. We are teaching our students that they have a First Amendment right, but part of that employability component means a right time and a right place. And last time I checked, they're only in school for, 7.5, 8 hours? That means there's 16 hours of the day plus the weekend that you can still be active in the community. And again, when we had these walkouts that happened, again, I want to make sure our district realizes, I know you all do, that the vast majority in Sarasota County, they decided not to walk out. 99% of our students stayed in school, stayed engaged in their curriculum, and I think that speaks volumes. There is a small minority that is saying that this doesn't allow, obviously, for third-party organizations to instruct and lead those walkouts, but I thought that wasn't happening. So why does it matter that we include it in a district-wide policy? I will say there's also been at least one person in our district that's been reprimanded for using school district resources and school district time to promote a school board candidate in a school board election event. I know they've been reprimanded, but that should, if we really want to get politics out of schools, why are we allowing that? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, JT Pryor, Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley.
Good morning, JT Pryor, Progressive Christian Minister serving Sarasota County. I am back to speak on Agenda 1010. I had hoped that after hearing the concerns around the vagueness of this policy last meeting that the board would revise the language on this policy at least. I had hoped that you'd hear the concerns of inconsistent implementation across different schools, around inconsistent enforcement from administrators. I had hoped that the board majority would hear the concerns of First Amendment violations made possible by this vague language. But again, here we are. It appears this board is focused on political theater. Never mind that existing policies already cover student disruptions, and these existing policies are also clear and do not expand to vague boundaries that this proposed policy does. I've heard the intent of the board's majority for this policy, and I see where it can appear like this is to protect education and instruction time. But what is so confounding to me is that the district is facing a major budget crisis, and hundreds of faculty and staff have been told that they will no longer have jobs at the district, yet this unnecessary policy seems to be a priority. It seems to me that it would be a much better use of time to address the growing budget crisis and to speak to the public about what the board intends to do, not vague policy to score political brownie points. Quite honestly, the time spent on this policy when there are much more pressing issues facing our schools is discouraging. Sarasota deserves to see a school board fighting to address the growing funding gaps from the state disregard for public education. I have my doubts that this board majority will meet that challenge, but thankfully, August is coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley, Dylan Ramsey.
Duff Smiley from Sarasota, and today I'd like to talk about the Dreamers Academy Agenda 10.1. Last week was my birthday, and sadly, I'm almost as old as Tom Edwards. I told my wife I was getting older, and to boost my confidence, she said, "You are getting older, but you are not getting pretty." Apparently, the Dreamers Academy is very popular with our parents. When they started in 2021, they had 197 students. In 2026, they are projected to have approximately 700. About 500 parents in 5 years have elected to send their children to this school. That's a lot of people voting with their feet. The district needs to analyze why parents are walking out of public schools to schools of choice. It would be useful to conduct a survey, an exit survey of parents leaving public schools, and the district should also survey all our parents that are currently in the public schools and determine why they stay and reasons why they would leave. Some possible reasons for leaving. Number one would be a better education, which I don't think that's a fact. Keeping their children from being instilled with ideologies and doctrines with which they do not agree, I think that's a major factor. Wanting values relating to American exceptionalism, Western culture, the American melting pit, the importance of individual freedom and merit, and the belief that America is great. It does not matter what circumstances you were born into. You can rise to be successful if you work hard enough and face the barriers that everybody faces as challenges to be overcome. Every parent deserves the right to send their child to a school that reflects their values. The problem is not wholly vouchers. A much more overriding factor is choosing to leave public schools for values parents do not want to instill in their children. And I don't think most of you are as bad as people make you out to be. And, you know, I'd like to talk about education every now and then. What are we doing to close the gap between the lower performing schools and the higher performing schools? What are we doing in civics and history? What are we teaching our kids? I mean, we're in here talking about policies. Really? This is a school board meeting. We should be talking about how to elevate our students, how to motivate our students. And it seems like most of the students that come here, they have a problem, you know. They don't know how, they're not very confident in themselves. They don't think they have a bright future. I feel sorry for them because they're very pessimistic about being in a place that's great to live in, and you have the ability to do whatever you want to do despite who happens to be in front of you.
Thank you. Dylan Ramsey, Richard Steele.
I'm messing up. Sorry. Okay. Good morning, school board members and Superintendent Connor and everyone in the room with us today and watching online. My name is Dylan Ramsey. I'm a Sarasota County resident, the proud father of a Sarasota County public school student and a former Sarasota County public student myself. I'm here today to give public comment on agenda item 10.10, which is for the approval of the new school board policy 5.301, student disruptions and demonstrations. At the last school board meeting, I gave a comment on the agenda item for the advertisement for this policy. I argued that I didn't think the timing for something like this was appropriate. I mentioned that there were more pressing issues going on right now that we should be focused on, like the financial troubles of our school district. I mentioned how teachers I spoke to were fearful of losing their jobs and changes to their benefits. Well, unfortunately, since that last school board meeting, it was announced that over 130 Sarasota County school teachers would lose their jobs at the end of the school year. Also, that teachers on certain benefit plans will now pay an extra $200 a month for their family's health care. Some of our teachers at our Title I schools and teachers that manage IEPs will be receiving pay cuts up to $1,800. ESE teachers will be getting a pay cut of $4,500. These are the teachers, our students that are in the most need of our help, rely on the most. These teachers change lives. I know from experience because they changed mine. I was an IEP student and I had a tough time in school. But because of my teacher that managed my IEP, I was able to learn how to succeed. And now today I'm thriving in my master's of computer science program at Georgia Tech. Shout out and thank you to my SCS IEP manager teacher. This is not an oversupply of teachers issue. It's the opposite. Our schools currently do not have enough teachers. Before these cuts, they were already overworked and did not have the resources and the help they needed. And now it's only going to become much worse. Our teachers and students deserve better than this. So when time and resources of the school board is spent not on figuring out on how we can work together to solve these issues, but instead creating new policies on things like how to punish and restrict student action, it comes across as a little out of touch and disrespectful to the current issues our teachers and school in our district are facing. I asked the school board to please reconsider the current priorities and delay the approval of this policy. At the very least, if it is believed to be something so important to pursue at this moment, seek anonymous approval from every board member. A 3 out of 5 is 60%. If I ever got a 60% on a school assignment, my teacher would say to me, "I know you can do better." Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Steele and then Cassie Jewell.
School Board. I think I have a cold today, so I apologize. My voice is a little scratchy. Is it possible to get a glass of water? Anybody have it? Anyway, I was going to speak out against the policy of firing probational contract teachers, but a lot has changed in the month or so that this policy was enacted. Most importantly, on or about the same day that my wife lost her job, she got a new job at the Classical Academy, even closer to our house. I later found out it was not the school board. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. It was not the school board that was doing the dirty work. It was the union, the teachers' union. So I want to ask, are there any union reps here in the audience today? No? Okay. Anyway, I want to say in closing, you men and women are accountable to the citizens of Sarasota, and your hard work is appreciated. However, the administrator lied to the teachers' faces a couple of months ago when he reported to them that their jobs were safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassie Jewell, Beth Mayberry.
Good morning. Cassie Jewell, Sarasota County resident and parent of 2, speaking on agenda item 10.10, policy 5.301. I'll skip the warm-up because this one actually matters. This is a new policy, not a clarification, not housekeeping, and it's new policy that creates a separate disciplinary framework specifically for demonstrations, defined in its own language as expressive activity. That is not a continuation of the code of conduct. That's an entire new category built around expression. What you're doing is taking behavior that's already governed and carving it out a separate lane when it involves expression. The policy is very clear about that. Demonstrations are defined as expressive activity. Protests, walkouts, symbolic speech, political or ideological expression. You're not just regulating disruption, you're creating a framework around expression, which is simply ridiculous. And then you attach discipline to it, not just for actual disruption, but for disruption that can be predicted. The policy itself says discipline applies when officials can reasonably forecast that disruption will occur, which means students are now subject to consequences not just for what they do, but for what someone thinks might happen. That's a significant shift. And I want to point out one more thing because it matters for everyone in the district. Section 6 of this policy puts teachers on notice. It says staff must maintain professional neutrality during demonstrations, must not encourage or discourage student participation, and failure to comply may result in progressive discipline. So the same teachers the district can't retain, the same ones who are exhausted, who are leaving, who are underpaid, you just told them that if a student walks out and they respond like a human being instead of a bystander, they're at risk too. Okay. And all of this stands out, especially when you look at everything else you're doing today. You're handling safety systems, staffing, budgets, facilities, insurance, university partnerships, all normal, all operational. And then this, a brand new policy focused specifically on demonstrations. So let's be clear for the record. This policy formalizes the district's authority to regulate demonstrations, defined as expressive activity, using a standard that includes anticipated disruption. And when you start disciplining expression based on what might happen, you're no longer managing behavior, you're managing permission. That's not a small change. That's a decision about how this district intends to handle student expression moving forward. So let's be clear. For the record, I'd encourage everyone to read the opening of this policy carefully. It says the district recognizes that at times, students retain First Amendment rights. At times. That's their framing, not mine.
Thank you. Beth Mayberry, Carol Lerner.
Beth Mayberry, Sarasota County. My name is Beth Mayberry. I'm a candidate for the Sarasota County School Board District 5. I'm a proud mother of 3 and an even prouder grandmother of 5, including students currently attending Sarasota County schools. I want to address section 4.1, starting with page 30 of the 270-page annual comprehensive financial report. This reports that federal and state revenues are down by around $5 million, or about 6.6%, while the local revenues have risen around 4% for the 24-25 school year. This should be a concerning development for the citizens of Sarasota County, as it emphasizes the fact that our schools are getting less from the state and the federal government to support our public schools, while at the same time, our community is stepping up. Sarasota County has voted overwhelmingly to tax themselves for our children to have excellent schools. and to retain the focus on learning. Meanwhile, we're getting less and less in terms of real dollars from our legislature. More alarming to me is that in the school year 25-26, we can expect this trend is continuing. Our tax collector sends all of the school tax money from taxpayers like you and me here in Sarasota to the state, where it's combined with all the other districts' money, and then a portion is supposed to be sent back through the Florida Education Finance Program. We know this year that because of the mismanagement of the Florida Empowerment Scholarships, or voucher program, a portion of that money that we were supposed to get back was not returned because the money for public schools is combined with the money for the vouchers. Sarasota taxpayers have already voted to tax themselves to maintain the excellence of our schools. At what point do we as the citizens ask ourselves, who are we supporting with our tax dollars and what are we getting back? As we look toward next year's expenses, 2 years from the current report we're seeing today, how much will our fuel costs rise? How much more will the healthcare expenses for our dedicated teachers be? And what are we doing to make sure that we're able to fully fund our public schools so that our Sarasota County schools continue to thrive, not just now, but in the future? I urge anyone else concerned about these questions to contact your Florida state legislature, since they're in a position to do something about this problem. They can isolate voucher funding from public school funding so that our schools get adequately funded. They can reestablish the income cap for those vouchers so that millionaires whose children are already enrolled in elite private schools are not taking the taxpayer money from the working class whose children would be the ones left behind if these trends continue. I ask that our community look to the future of our public schools and stand solid behind them. Please vote for a school board that solidly and loudly supports public schools with actions, not just words, and a Florida legislature that values a good public education. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Lerner, Lydia Miller.
Carol Lerner, Director of Support Our Schools. First, I should not be at this dais speaking about agenda item 10.10. It is a manufactured issue instigated by the board chair. Had the school board meeting time not been changed, there would be no concern about students leaving schools to attend school board meetings or pre-meeting rallies. Second, section 7, outside organizations and third-party involvement, was also instigated by the chair. It drips with hypocrisy. We heard nothing from her when the local chapter of the organization she founded, Moms for Liberty, tried to stage a massive 2021 walkout over masks. A walkout that fizzled because it was driven by Moms for Liberty adults, a true third party, without student buy-in. Also, do you remember in 2023 when the school board chair tried to hand the keys to the district to a radical right-wing zealot, Jordan Adams of Hillsdale College, and his fly-by-night Vermillion education consulting firm? Thank goodness Robin Marinelli, Tim Enos, and Tom Edwards voted it down. That would have been real third-party disruption. Exercising our First Amendment right to petition the government for redress of grievances is true American patriotism. Our nation was founded on civil disobedience. Think the American Revolution. Likewise, civil rights, child labor laws, women's suffrage, Social Security, Medicare, and other great reforms stem from mass actions, including protests. There is also a historic lesson in Sarasota. In 1969, over 2,300 Black students walked out of Sarasota schools for a 5-day boycott, prompted by the closure of all schools in the historically Black Newtown neighborhood during desegregation. The Newtown community backed this student-led initiative and set up freedom schools taught by new college students in churches so students could keep up with schoolwork. Initially, the district took a punitive approach, threatening to jail parents, but eventually met all their demands. 1 year later, in 1970, New Booker High School and Booker Middle School opened, and the 2 Newtown-based elementary schools remained open. Many of these courageous student leaders are still alive today. Good things can happen from dissent that makes us a more perfect nation, community, and school district. Remember that when you vote today on this policy. I know I will remember that when I vote for school board candidates on August 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. Lydia Miller, Sheila Van Ness.
Good morning. Lydia Miller, Sarasota, Florida, and I'm here to speak on Article 1010. I'm asking that policy 530.301 be tabled in addition to any other policies coming forth that do not address the one detrimental issue that we face, which is a $45 million shortfall in our budget. For information on the causes and effects of public school deficits, a good start would be to read an article published by Sarasota Herald Tribune, written by educators Carol Lerner and Lisa Schur. Some of my takeaways from this article is when Florida expanded the voucher program, only 13% of those accepting vouchers were from public schools. In 2024, 70% of vouchers were given to those who already attended private schools. And according to Terry Connor, for the first time in our history, public education access for all students and communities is in doubt. Charter School USA is an example of a for-profit school with a focus on getting as much money as they can. And my last note from this article is for school boards to support alternative nonprofit schools, a benefit alternative like the Dreamers Academy, which is a true nonprofit local charter school providing learning opportunities for each student. The primary cause for the budget shortage is the result of poor policymaking for the disbursement of school vouchers. And our school board needs to be promoting and supporting legislation to prevent budgeted public school funds from going into profits. Currently, money collected from taxpayers who believe that their dollars are going to strengthen and maintain public schools are instead diverted for private for-profit schools at the expense of our communities. Public schools are in place to educate without prejudice and prepare students to continue to ask questions and seek knowledge. It's easy to take the lazy way out and just believe unsubstantiated claims, but public schools help us develop abilities to think, whereas private schools are often geared toward telling students what to think based on corporate agendas. So far, our school board chair has sought to implement policies to support ICE, those geared to stifle students' amendment rights, and to punish students. None of these articles put forth were in admittance of our school board chair set to attempt to change existing policies. These were simply divisive tactics to divert attention away.
Thank you. Sheila Van Ness, Sebastian Martinez.
It's Dr. Sheila Van Ness. I'm a resident here and a school volunteer. The reason I'm addressing you today about 1010 is I think that it's a wasteful exercise to add that to the student conduct policy. It's not necessary. You have good policy already in place. And I fear that this is influenced by some of our governor's activities and the legislature in trying to frame student activities of free speech as if they are terrorism, okay? A word that has become meaningless in our society. I would underscore that we need to treat our students as our own. We need to take care not to exaggerate and overstate issues that are really problematic. We need to guide our students to use their free speech rights and to do it responsibly. And we can do that with the policies that we already have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the final speaker is Sebastian Martinez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Sebastian Martinez, and I'm a Sarasota resident and a proud product of the Sarasota County school system. And today I'm asking you to vote no on the proposed policy on student demonstrations. During my last time speaking to y'all, I shared my concern, the equal application of this policy and the potential legal ramifications. The response I received was 1, the acknowledgement of how reprimand hadn't been equally applied in the past. 2, an assurance that now the application will be equally applied, which I hope and I pray is exactly what happens. I want to have confidence and trust in the process, and I will. But my years as a student here, as a student who was outspoken, who had outspoken classmates, and now as a community member who still hears stories from students about what goes on in our campuses, I have turned. At a time when our district is letting go over 130 first-year teachers because of our budget issues, the loss of millions and millions of dollars due to vouchers, and on top of that, a lack of funding coming down from our state, we can't afford costly lawsuits. And I also want to be clear that I'm not asking you to vote no because I want to see students walk out. I'm asking you to vote no because it's a fragile policy with a wonky standing, bordering on causing a chilling effect on students' First Amendment rights on campus. My final thing is that, and I don't know, maybe it's because I went to Booker and because I learned about our history and appreciated the work and advocacy of student leaders who I learned about through a documentary. But it's not like those student leaders are from a completely different era, right? I feel like oftentimes when we have the conversation of student advocacy, of desegregation, and a lot of civil rights advancements, not a whole different era. Those student leaders were my substitutes. They were family members of my teachers. And now as the chair of Booker High School's SAC committee, I serve with people who are grandparents or guardians of current students who never had the chance to go to Booker High School in the same way that I did. And so it's also something that I feel was just taught to me when I was younger from my parents. And this is also something that's super prevalent, super common when it comes to Hispanic families and Hispanic students, is that there's a very deep appreciation about our country and about our rights and our abilities to speak out, because it's not something that is common in places like where my parents are from. They didn't have the opportunity to be outspoken wherever they were. And so under that light, you know my concern, ask you to vote no. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. And that concludes public comment for agenda items. We'll get ourselves set up to move forward with the first motion, which is the approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion, item 8.1? Oh, I'm sorry. I turned the page too far. 7.1, may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you for that.
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the board meeting minutes as presented.
I have a motion by Mrs. Marinelli. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Rose. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the item before you, and you may need to refresh your computer if it doesn't come up. I'm stalling with time. So give enough time. Everyone good? Okay. And the motion to approve the minutes passes unanimously. Now we move to item 8.1, which is the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, members, please vote on item 8.1, my goodness. Voice vote. Okay. We're going to do a voice vote on this. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and the motion for 8.1 for the consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving on to the discussion agenda, item 10.1. Mr. Carner, can you please present this item?
Yes, this item 10.1 is for the approval of the charter renewal contract with Dreamers Academy. It is seeking a 10-year contract We have conducted a comprehensive assessment with the schools of their performance, their finances, their governance, and determined that the negotiated terms do meet the standard renewal model set forth by the Florida Department of Education. So I do ask the board to consider approval of this contract.
Thank you. Is there a motion for item 10.1?
I move for approval of the charter renewal contract for Dreamers Academy.
I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edwards. Are there any comments? Seeing none, we are back up to a computer vote or voice vote? Voice vote all around? Okay. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item. Mr. Connor, if you'd like to present 10.2.
Yes, 10.2 is the approval of the employee group benefits insurance rates effective for July 1st, 2026. I'm requesting that the board approve the new employee group benefit rates that will go in effect on July 1st. These rates are a result of our ongoing efforts to redesign our health benefits plans as the 3 R's that I've shared in terms of our financial correction. This will ensure sustainability financially, as well as bring our medical cost into a reasonable support mechanism so that we can continue to provide high-quality benefits for our valued employees. This was negotiated through our union partners and received an 86% ratification rate.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Is there a motion for item 10.2?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the benefit insurance rates effective 7/1/2026.
I have a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mrs. Rose. Are there any comments? Mr. Edwards, you're recognized.
So I just want to point out that this is a vote that I will be supporting, but it is yet again another example of whether you want to refer to it as the voucher program or the fact that the rates per student, the FEFP, has not increased dramatically over the time that I've actually been on the board, which is 5 years. And yet our fixed costs, such as medical benefits, continue to escalate year over year over year over year. And what I point out is that the board, the administration, the union has tried every which way from Sunday to protect those benefits. And here we are. And it is time for a change in public education, particularly around funding and the voucher program.
Thank you. Mrs. Barker, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to also address this as a family that uses our school insurance plan. And I am really grateful to our finance team and our superintendent and our union partners for finding a way to continue to offer 2 fully paid plans to individuals who, for our district, I think that is already becoming increasingly rare as a benefit. And I heard some very concerning conversations in other districts about the increases in medical benefits costs, and Board Member Edwards is correct. The current situation in school funding is untenable, and I believe we will continue to have those conversations if we do not choose to adequately fund our teachers and our public schools. And to me, having that conversation is a real, it should be a real eye-opener for us as a state. What are our values? Who do we value? And I certainly hope it's our educators.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker. Mrs. Marinelli, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really have a very hard time with this one because I have always stated, and I stated this to Superintendent Connor, that I never wanted to have our employee benefits be touched. But going back when I was working for the district, I had my husband on my benefits, and it became unattainable for me back then, and I've been retired 10 years. So this is not something that just happened. And this is before even we had so many charter schools and the voucher program and all the other things that have been mentioned. This has been an ongoing issue. The cost of insurance, whether it's our home, wind, flood, health, goes up and up and up. And I can say that because my father worked in the insurance business. And he's been gone for over 20 years, and he's always said this, that it goes up, and there's a lot of factors that are out of our control. And I hate to have to even agree to this, but I don't see any other choice, and I'm just so thankful that we're able to offer insurance to our employees, because that would be a hard no for me. And I'll support it, but it's not a happy support. I can put it that way, because I value all staff, and having the high level of benefits that we've always been able to offer, I have felt has attracted high quality staff, from the superintendent to our teachers, to our aides, bus drivers, because everybody works together to make this system work. So I don't have an answer for the insurance, because if I did, I'd probably be very, very wealthy, because nobody else can seem to come up with it. So I will support it, but it's with great sadness and reluctance.
Thank you very much. I concur in many factors. This is very difficult. I think that over the last decade, I know the conversation regularly comes up that this district prides itself in being able to offer at no cost to employees a wide range of very, I believe, rich in benefits. And it has been discussed year over year over year about whether or not we can continue that. The insurance market is painful, and even as a self-insured fund, we are seeing the double-digit increases. So it is a very difficult moment, and I think that this district has tried very hard to preserve those benefits. At the same time, we are facing many headwinds, as was mentioned. The superintendent's really outlined that very well, because there are a number of factors, and these are the challenging situations that are business decisions that have to be made, and we understand that has a direct impact on people's lives, which none of us want. So I recognize the concern, but I also appreciate the work that is being done in real time to address this, so that while there is an impact to this, I believe the attempt is to make them as nominal as possible, and doing so by going back out to re-enrollment for the mid-year, which is, again, very unusual. So I appreciate the work. I understand the concern. I think that, again, there are many factors to this, and that at least being able to still offer fully funded for a couple plans for members of our employees, I think is important, because while it's hard, it is not something you saw from a market standard over the last 10 years in many districts at all. So that said, I will be supporting this, but I recognize the concern and the impact. So Mrs. Rose, sorry, I didn't see you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's important to say that educators don't come into the field of teaching to get wealthy, and historically we take care of our educators with benefits, with retirement, etc., and that's obviously becoming more difficult with the increase of medical insurance costs. I just want to make sure that I'm reinforcing as we go forward to the superintendent that we're looking at all the costs in the district, something as valuable to bring in high quality staff, something as valuable and historically has never been touched, particularly in this district, as medical benefits, that we are being very transparent with the public in the costs that we are choosing to maintain. And I have brought that up a few times previously. Everything obviously is a balancing of of what, as a board and as a district and a community, we want to focus on. But I do want to reinforce that, and I too will be reluctantly supporting it and grateful that we still have benefits, not like we've always had, but benefits that are at no cost for each employee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board members, please vote on the motion before you. I believe we can do computer if you have, okay. And the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item, item 10.3. Is there a motion? Before that, Mr. Duggan, if you could please present this item.
Sure. There is a Florida statute that permits, when there is litigation, for this board to meet privately to discuss it so that we don't give away our strategies. And in light of some upcoming court deadlines, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on this particular case and pick your brains and get your input. So that is what the request is today. The statute requires us to ask for permission in public to then later, at a later date, convene in private for the purpose of doing so. As you know, when we do these, there's court reporters present, and ultimately the discussion becomes a public record, but after the litigation is over. So that is the request here, pursuant to statute, that the board authorize a litigation strategy session to discuss this particular lawsuit, to be held on May 5th following the regularly scheduled board workshop.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion on item 10.3?
I move to authorize a litigation strategy session regarding Mary Andrews versus the School Board of Sarasota County, Florida, case number 2024 CA006100NC, pursuant to Florida State Statute 286.011. To be held on May 5th, 2026, following the conclusion of the regularly scheduled board workshop scheduled for the same day to conduct the private meeting.
Thank you very much. I have a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Edwards. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote. And we're going to do a voice vote for this. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.4. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Yes. 10.4 is the approval of the revised school board policies, Chapter 2. As you know, over the last few months, we workshopped several of the policies in Chapter 2 related to school board governance and organizations. We then presented that advertisement period for approval at our last board meeting, and it has gone through that process. And now we are bringing forth these revised policies for final approval. So these policies are related to board meetings, student dating violence, and our district wellness program.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of revised school board policies, Chapter 2, School Board Governance and Organization, Policy 2.22, Board Meetings, Policy 2.72, Student Dating Violence and Abuse, and Policy 2.95, Wellness Program.
I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. Do we need a voice vote? Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item, 10.5. Mr. Connor, can you please present these items?
Yes, this is a continuation of the previous item for Chapter 3, School Administration Board Policies. We're seeking approval for revised policies related to suicide prevention procedures, automatic external defibrillators, animals on campus, and CESR.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the revised policies 3.14 suicide prevention, 3.14A suicide prevention procedures, 3.25 automatic external defibrillators, 3.47 animals on campus, and 3.241 CESR.
I have a motion by Mr. Edwards. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Barker. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. And I will do a voice vote, just keep things consistent. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.6. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Yes, as a continuation of the previous items, this will be Chapter 5, Board Policies Related to Student Service. There are 7 policies in this chapter that were presented for revisions and have been advertised and are now being presented for approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the revised policies 5.35, granting permission for students to leave campus, 5.38, student use of electronic devices, 5.39, student fees and supplies, 5.70, student records, 5.90, foreign exchange students, 5.343, use of timeout, seclusion, and physical restraint for students with disabilities, and 5.712, recording IEP meetings.
I have a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mrs. Marinelli. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote on the motion before you. I know it's coming up on the computer. We'll do a voice vote anyway. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.7. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
At this time, we'll continue with Chapter 8, which is our Auxiliary Services Board Policies. There are 2 particular policies in this chapter that have been formally revised, advertised, and are now being presented for approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the revised policies 8.51 renovations, remodeling, or additions of facilities by booster clubs, PTAs, or other school-affiliated groups, and 8.52 construction change orders.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Marinelli. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Melly?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker votes yes, and the chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.8. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Yes, during this process of our quarterly review of policies, there were three actually, in Chapter 8 that we are asking for the repeal because they were identified as being outdated or redundant. So those would be 8.5, 8.53, and 8.502.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the repeal of policies 8.50, school construction bid process, 8.502, construction change directives, and 8.53, improvements to school plants and grounds.
There's a motion by Mrs. Barker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Edwards. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. We'll start with Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.9. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
Yeah, moving forward with Chapter 9 of our board policies, School Community Relations and Interlocal Agreements, we are recommending the revised policy 9.30, which governs the community use of district facilities. And this has been workshopped, advertised, and is now final for approval.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the revised policy 9.30, use of facilities.
I have a motion by Mrs. Marinelli. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Barker. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
Yes.
The chair votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 10.10. Mr. Connor, can you please present this item?
This item is for the approval of a new policy, 5.301, student disruptions and demonstrations. This item presents for your approval and establishes clear definitions for student expression and protest to ensure that such activities do not interfere with the safety and the instructional integrity of the school day or school-sponsored events.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new school board policy, Chapter 5, student policy 5.301, student disruptions and demonstrations.
I have a motion by Mrs. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mrs. Marinelli. Any comments? Mrs. Barker.
Thank you, Board Chair. As board members and as a school board as a whole, I believe we have a responsibility to be very intentional in our messaging to our community. And the message that this policy sends, and quite frankly, the message that our policies and resolution and meeting time changes have sent to our community is very clear. It is, we are not interested. Be quiet, sit down, we don't care about your concerns, and eventually You don't matter. As one board member, I will not be complicit in that. That is far from every student every day.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards, you're recognized.
As I've stated, there's been just a parade of policies and conversations on this dais that is nothing but a distraction away from lots of topics that are so much more important. Addressing teacher pay in relation to compression. That's something that is ongoing in every bargaining conversation, and we don't talk about that. The achievement gap was brought up in a public comment. We don't talk about that. Exit surveys I brought up several times on this dais, whether it's employees leaving, whether it's families and students leaving. The mental health climate of our students and our faculty, I still find to be stressful. These are topics that we don't talk about. And yet here's one of those policies that have gone on for, I would say, months, that we've been consumed for hours in public comment regarding the opposition to these distractions. Lastly, I would point out that members on this dais called me out for protesting on my own time. And they did it here on the dais and then proceeded to write an empty ICE policy because of it. And yet our federal government, well, first let me point out that a person was needlessly shot and killed days later, and the protests have caused a change in policy at federal government, which we are all seeing. So, although I don't support students' disruptions, I don't support them walking out on class, we have policies that already cover and govern that. I believe that this is the United States and we leave moments for exceptions to the rule. And overall, we're still in this conversation of distraction. And I would argue that that could be why many of our families are in fact leaving the district, because it looks like it's chaos in this boardroom all the time for policies that just don't need to be covered. So I will not be supporting this.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Marinelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I strongly disagree with what has been said by two of these board members. Please show me when we have not talked about teacher salary. Please show me when we have not talked about all the concerns of student safety. Please tell me when we have not addressed, either with the superintendent or in workshops, everything that you brought up. Two of these board members, you talk about politics, both of those statements are political.
Sorry, hold on. So the second row, I can hear in first row, so that's your warning, otherwise we'll have you removed, because it's very easy. I said second row. Thank you. Mrs. Marinelli, continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm an educator. I've spent over 40 years of my life dedicating to K through 12. I have never been accused of suppressing any student, and I won't be. But walking out is not the way to do it, because that is disruptive to the educational. And you can put up your false, but you talk to teachers and they'll tell you that it's disruptive, that it does cause them, for kids not to hear the instruction. That's what we're here for, is instruction. Tell me also when we do not address student achievement. Please show me when we do not. When that's why we're here, is student achievement. and having kids think for themselves. We give them the tools to think, to debate in their classrooms. I, as a board member, do not control what goes on in a teacher's classroom. And there have been board members in the past that do. And they tried to control what goes on in student services and with counselors. So just show me when we don't address student achievement. And I find it very, very offensive of the comments that were made previously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Rose, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be supporting this policy. My success with students has been a strong focus on academic achievement and what it takes for every student to be successful in their academic career as well as in life. And if we want to discuss parades, in my experience, there's been a consistent parade of the same activists in this boardroom for over 2 years saying the same thing, which interestingly enough, and with huge irony and support from board members, is for students to be able to walk out of class. And that does not compute for me at all. There's plenty of time in the day and the weekends for students to be involved in activism, if that is their individual choice, as well as during the school day and after hours, tremendous rich opportunities in with civic experiences that have been here for years. I don't see any promotion of that from the ongoing parade of activists. So academic achievement all the way, particularly if we want to have a conversation. My favorite is third grade reading, and I will take a moment just to recognize Superintendent Connor, Mrs. O'Day, and your staff for having such an impact on that piece of academic achievement at third grade, which is the greatest predictor. And for someone who, well, I will be as kind as I can possibly be. This is a board that focuses in on academic achievement, and the comments that have been said in the aggression towards colleagues does nothing to invite families into this boardroom. And lastly, I will add the one thing I learned with a background in the behavioral sciences when I came onto this board, and there seems to be a divide, is I have noticed a pattern of everything that you are attacking your colleagues for. If you dive deep into research, you're seeing that is exactly what those folks are doing themselves before they make their accusations. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Well, I will also be supporting this. I want to clarify a couple of things. I think that it is absolutely false that this district, this board, this leadership team doesn't focus on academics and closing the achievement gap. I am, despite the number of headwinds that we have addressed, and Mr. Connor has gone around to the community and done presentations in these chambers to illustrate what is truly happening. Despite all of those headwinds, this team continues to move forward and accelerate areas that laid stagnant or were declining under other different leadership. So the priority is academics. That is what we are here for. That is what our taxpayers invest in for schools, for education, and that is our responsibility, as is safety. And when you have walkouts that are taking place across the country, not just here, I know people want to make it that this is directed towards one thing or another. As policymakers, there are times that we need to seize the moment and do things that will protect the learning environment, that will give families faith and trust that we're focused on our core mission, which is academics and not activism. If you're a parent, you want to take your child out of school to go be an activist, go for it. Go for it. Yes, it's going to be an unexcused absence, which was a policy Mrs. Barker had brought forward. We addressed it. But the way that it's being manipulated to say that this is targeted or not, at the end of the day, our focus is academics. When you look at right now, there's another student walkout prepared for May 1st. Those have huge risk factors. And we have a responsibility when the care, custody, and control. You want to talk about financial exposure is when you don't have proper policies in place and you allow students to just walk out. So I am proud that we're taking this action. I'm also proud that there are a lot of districts that saw our leadership and are following what we're doing, because it's not exclusive to Sarasota. There are activist organizations that want to abuse and exploit our schools to train or stage activism. And you can laugh all you want. We have emails that will illustrate it by members of our staff. So we need to take this seriously. And I'm not surprised by those who are laughing based on, we kind of live rent-free in your head. It's whatever, but we take it seriously. We are mature enough to handle these situations. So you can continue with your signs and all of your fun things, but at the end of the day, we're here to act and take care of things. We are not deterred by your sophomoric behavior. So I will be supporting this. I just want to highlight that it is applicable across all components. It doesn't matter which ideological component, what it would stand for or not. And if you go back to 5 years ago, and this is where this is also very important, when you have staff that is worried about the safety of students and think they are going to walk out, then they help facilitate that demonstration. We can't have that either. So this lays it out very clear what those expectations are, and that it is a reassurance that activism and walkouts have no place inside of our district. Does that mean that students can't have, there's a bunch of examples listed here. No, the key word is disruption. It has been looked through in a number of ways from a legal component, and it will be applied equally. And it sends a very clear message about where this direction, where this district is headed, and will maintain itself focused on the academics and the safety of our students. So with that, I will take a voice vote, and we'll start with Mr. Edwards.
No.
Mrs. Marinelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Barker?
No.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion passes 3-2. Moving on, now we're into the hearing of citizens. I want to welcome everyone back to this hearing of citizens. This time is for general comments. Each speaker will state their full name, county of residence, and will have up to 2 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Respect for divergent opinions shall be recognized for all speakers. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Outbursts, applause, or other interruptions that disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated. Any person that interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting after first being warned that such continued interference will result in removal will be removed. There are speakers in the room behind me that will allow board members to hear public comment when stepping away from the dais. When your name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. As a reminder, a recording cannot be played during your 2 minutes public comment, and we appreciate your cooperation. We'll begin with the first speaker, Christy Carwatt, and then Susan Scott.
I'm Christy Carwatt, resident of Sarasota. Wow, I never have been called an activist before. I just thought I was an old, retired Sarasota high school teacher who truly cares about every student every day. And just because I'm no longer teaching doesn't mean that I don't care about public education, because I know it is under attack. And we have people on this board that are doing their darndest to undermine public schools. Another thing I want to mention is the fact that I understand we have a really strict attendance policy, because as Mrs. Ziegler said, kids need to be in school no matter what, even if the parents take them out. You posted a beautiful picture of you and your daughter at a political event that I think occurred at 12 noon. But wait a minute. Kids need to be in school no matter what. Especially, you don't want them involved in politics. They have plenty of time after school to get involved in politics. Is that the very definition of a hypocrite? I believe so.
Susan Scott and Teresa DeWitt.
My name is Susan Scott. I'm a resident of Sarasota for the past 28 years and 38 years in Florida. I'm a taxpayer and I'm an advocate for public education. Today, I'm expressing my objection to billions of our tax dollars being diverted from public education. I strongly object to the billions of public dollars being diverted from public education to vouchers. I was shocked to learn that the state voucher funding exploded to $5 billion this year, nearly 25% of the education budget. Over $200 million of that is unaccounted for. In Sarasota County alone, vouchers consume about $45 million, enough to erase the current budget deficit if redirected back to Sarasota County Public Schools. Just let that sink in for a minute. As a result of this massive diversion of public funds, schools are closing, teachers are being laid off, support for special education and other vital programs are disappearing, and class sizes are expanding. Maintaining a system of public schools is required by the Florida Constitution. Elected officials are responsible for ensuring that our public schools are adequately funded. Our state legislatures have failed us. So, I feel I have a responsibility as a taxpayer to speak out and support a quality public education for all students, as you do, elected school board members. Take action, please. Speak truth to power and stand up for our students in county public schools. Use your personal power with the legislator and governor to offer fixes to our budget during this special section. Use your personal power to demand that there be limits and accountability for expenditure of $5 billion for vouchers that.
Thank you very much. Teresa DeWitt and Paulina Testerman.
Hello, I'm Teresa DeWitt, and I am living in Sarasota County. I wanted to speak on behalf of the DeFi students. They held an event in Northport on April 7th that I attended. These students are working hard and had 40 questions they wanted answered by leadership. Ms. Ziegler, may I submit these student questions to the public record at the end? On their behalf, I encourage them to stay in class. I would like to see all the board members answer these questions as well. Now I would like to address a repeated request of two student-led organizations wanting to hold a campus mental health awareness walk. The nonprofit organization who has left repeated calls to the landing after being directed by the Northport principal is one of the largest funded suicide prevention in the U.S., the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. This walk would be after hours on campus. We as a district have a process for events, but the process is not currently working, or it may just be a breakdown in communication. Governor DeSantis has stated there has been a 17% increase in calls with the hotline program for mental health. Nationally, we have a 42% of students feeling hopeless or depressed. We have a 69% of LGBTQ students identifying as depressed. We know there have been positions cut in school counselors, behavioral staff, and licensed therapist contracts not renewed. As a licensed therapist of 23 years, I am telling all of you in this room that the mental health of our children is at a pivotal point. The mental health walk is an easy win for staff and students. Everyone's in here fighting, but this is an easy win for everyone. Let's fix the process. Let's move forward. These walks cost $0 to the district and taxpayers. And Mr. Connor, I know that you're aware of this and you're currently working on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeWitt. You can hand it to the board, yeah, if you could. Thank you. Next is Paulina Testerman and Robin Williams.
Good morning, I'm Paulina Testerman. This month, Booker High School honored Principal Dr. Shelley as she retired, a loss felt throughout the district. Many shared kind and uplifting memories of their time with Dr. Shelley, and even Mrs. Ziegler, well, she certainly did her best. In an attempt to sound, quote, polished and heartfelt, qualities that Mrs. Ziegler obviously lacks, Mrs. Ziegler fed ChatGPT her command and then made the faux pas of copying and pasting the entire edit, including the command. Her post read, quote, here's a polished, heartfelt rewrite of your message. Awkward. Needless to say, she deleted the post, but not before someone screenshot it and shared it on Facebook, where our community, left, right, and centered, continued to mock her. Normally, none of us would bat an eye at this type of blunder, but Mrs. Ziegler is fodder for many of us. Her unyielding commitment to destroy public education leaves many of us hanging on her every word, and she does not disappoint. So as we round the bend election season with only 5 school board meetings left, I must say that we take great joy in knowing that we will not have to endure any more of Mrs. Ziegler's word salad, self-aggrandizing, sex scandals, cocksure expertise, pious indignation, patting on the back, smug demeanor, unyielding hypocrisy, but above all, a voice whose pitch reaches levels that only my dog can hear. 5 meetings to go. We're in the home stretch. August 18th cannot get here soon enough.
Thank you, Robin Williams and Bill Hayes.
Robin Williams, Proud Life member of the FEA and NEA. The Sarasota School District lost $45 million this year to vouchers and $65 million to charter schools. 7,111 Sarasota students attended charters this year. Most charters in Florida are corporate. They're supposedly nonprofit, but it's a shell game. Charter School USA is scheduled to open their conservative ideological classical schools for 550 students for grades K through 7 and 9 for next school year. Charter School USA is the second largest for-profit charter school company in the U.S. So how does it get away with supposedly being nonprofit? They pick a nonprofit board of directors that holds the nonprofit 501c3 school charter. Then the board goes and contracts with the for-profit charter school company to manage the school, to lease the building at high cost, and basically to purchase whatever the school needs to operate from a tangled web of interconnected businesses, all run by the same owners of the charter school company, like Jonathan Haig for Charter School USA. Not 1 cent of taxpayer money should go for vouchers or corporate charter schools. In vouchers alone, Florida lost close to $5 billion just this school year. Our schools have always been terribly underfunded. We're 50th in the nation for teacher pay, close to the bottom for per capita student expenditure, yet we're 18th for the cost of living. Tallahassee is bleeding our public schools dry. The money should follow the public school, not the individual child. 69% of this year's vouchers went to people like Ms. Ziegler and Representative Buchanan, whose children already went to private school. They had enough money to send their kids to private school before taking vouchers. If that's what they want to do with their money, so be it. But taxpayer money needs to go to our public schools. We don't have to fund a parallel school system with no standards nor regulation to speak of, not to mention it's an end run around the separation of church and...
Thank you. Bill Hayes, Corrine Prochnow.
Hello, I'm Bill Hayes from Sarasota County, and I'm here to speak about the school vouchers and what school boards across the state are doing to recoup the dollars that have been diverted from public education to private education. Here's how I see this. Sarasota County has tennis courts. This is just very simple, all over for anybody to use. But I bet you that the Longboat Key Club and Laurel Oaks Country Club have nicer tennis courts. And I don't see anybody thinking that that is even a question that could be brought up. You know, I think that people would think that I was completely crazy for wanting to do the same thing. But it's just real simple. It is. It's private versus public. Public money should never be diverted for privatization.
Thank you. Corrine Prochnow, Michelle Posey.
My name is Corrine Prochnow, community member and former Sarasota County ESE teacher. It's that time of year for testing and evaluations, and quite frankly, the board majority are missing the mark. Evaluations would range from areas that need improvement or needing to be put on a PIP, or to just needing to be let go. Public education is just not a fit for you. I am so frustrated and disappointed with the job performance. You have wasted so much time and resources on pointless resolutions, the rewriting of existing policy, your personal need for a group prayer so you can get your mindset to do your job, and the whole debacle of 10 a.m. meetings. Instead of targeting and othering students and staff, you should have been working with teachers, students, and the community to promote public schools and true nonprofit charter schools that the district has to offer. We have a lot to offer. You should have been spending your time and resources working with and informing local representatives and folks in Tallahassee on the dangers of vouchers, especially universal vouchers, on the negative impact they will have on our economy, our teachers, our staffing model, students, and especially our students with special needs. Due to the voucher program with no accountability or oversight, public education for all students and communities is in doubt. That is terrifying. We deserve a school board of folks with open minds that bring with them a wide range of perspectives to better meet the needs of our community. Our teachers and students deserve better. Do better.
Thank you. Michelle Posey, Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley.
Thank you, Michelle Posey. I know from time to time I've differed with a lot of you on the school board, some of you more than others. This is not a time when I'm envious of any of you. You've had to have some difficult decisions, some difficult discussions. Regardless of personal feelings, I do respect that you all engage in the debate. One thing that I do want to point out, I know, Member Barker, you had mentioned something about, it's almost like we're telling people that they don't matter by this decision that was voted on today. I have to give you all maybe a little history lesson. You want to know what told people that they don't matter? When 8 years ago, somebody, a former board member under a former superintendent, designed gender guidelines to keep away from parents the fact that kids were using different pronouns, didn't bring it to the dais for a vote. The Spirit Finger posse was not here for that. We didn't get to see that at all until parents found out about it later. Little history lesson. You want to tell parents that they don't matter? That's exactly what that did. Again, none of you were here for that, one of you, but you couldn't do anything about it. You're in the minority. So I understand, just a little history lesson. But it doesn't stop there. 5 years ago, one person on this board made a decision to cover the faces of every single student in our district without having any children in our district or any children himself at all, without having a medical degree. You want to talk about making people feel like they don't matter? You think this voucher epidemic happened all of a sudden? Anybody who's studied educational anything over the last 20 years, the trajectory has been going this way. Parents want a bigger seat. They want more opportunity and choices. So a little history lesson. You first told people, some of you, that they didn't matter. And then parents asked for their voucher money back. Taxpayers are doing it too.
Thank you. Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley. I don't know if he's still here. Dylan Ramsey. Mary Ginley. So Dylan's up first and then Mary. Sorry, I just called him. That's okay.
Hello again, still Dylan Ramsey, Sarasota County resident, still the proud father of a public school student. There's a lot of issues going on currently on our school district, and most of the time when I do a public comment, it's not on the most fun topics. But I wanted to use my general public comment for something that I think everyone can agree is awesome. The Bayhaven Odyssey of the Mind team came in first place in the state tournament in Orlando, and they will now advance to the 2026 Odyssey of the Mind World Finals in Ames, Iowa. Congratulations, Bayhaven Odyssey of the Mind team. I was a Bayhaven kid, and even in the early 2000s, they had one of the best Odyssey of the Mind teams around. It's so great to see that that's still the case today. Good luck in Iowa, and congratulations on your success. Thank you, school board members for approving their field trip. Thank you.
Thank you for that recognition. Mary Ginlin, you're next, and then Cassie Jewell.
My apologies to Dylan. My name is Mary Ginley. I grew up in the 50s as the oldest of 7 kids, and my dad had a pretty good job, so we had enough. We had what we needed. But what I thought I needed was a new Nancy Drew book. What my parents thought I needed was a new winter jacket. We always have to figure out what's essential, especially when you've got a limited pot of money. The DISC has that pot of money, not as much as we'd like, and probably not as much as we need. So you need to decide what was essential. And how did you do that? Did you ask principals? Did you ask teachers? Did you ask parents? If you did anyone say we need new textbooks this year? Did anyone say we need new computer programs this year? Did anyone say, let's keep up this testing program that costs a pretty penny? Or didn't you ask them? I'm not happy with people who offer simplistic solutions to complex problems, and I know I'm doing just that. But I'm asking you, use your money on teachers, not textbooks. Use your money for an insurance program, not a testing program. Take another look at what you think we need this year. I don't think it's a new Nancy Drew book. And spend the money on the essentials, competent, caring people who will do the work that's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Cassie Jewell, Megan Tenneman.
Cassie Jewell, you can call me an activist all you want, but I'm just a mom who ended up here at this bizarre circus that you, Bridget, are leading because my daughter was the subject of a school shooting threat that this district badly mishandled. And then I find out that it's like this. So congratulations, yes. I guess you made me an activist. That's the reason that I'm here. I didn't meet these other women at an activism group. I met them in the hallways of schools where we shared the same concerns. You had zero public support for this, and you moved forward with it anyway. To the point that Liz is making, this is the day that I have to bail on my actual job, my employees, my responsibilities in the middle of a workday because apparently it's the only way to get in front of you. I was actually kicked out of the front room earlier trying to listen in on a meeting because I'm a working mom. I'm trying to multitask, and apparently you're not allowed to do that. I had to go outside and then wait and come back and forth. I don't know if that's a real rule or what. There's no real conversation. There's no back and forth. My emails go unanswered, or I get the fun one-liner. I received your email, and that's it. So if we want to be heard, come here on your schedule in this format. And honestly, I've accepted that this is a complete circus, but there's a problem with that. You just passed a policy about expression behavior and what is and isn't allowed, and you did that in a room where the people affected by those decisions disagree and have no real way to engage with you. That disconnect is the issue because this feels like a circus up here, or worse, clearly a joke to some of you. The reality outside this room is not. I talk to people in the district all the time out here in the real world who are all concerned. They find out I come to these meetings, and the thing that strikes me is how consistent the message is. Everyone is saying the same thing. The teachers are exhausted. A lot of them are gone. They're trying to leave. They don't feel supported. Parents are frustrated and confused. They don't know what's happening at this level. You've built a system where the only way to be heard is to perform, and then you wonder why people stop trusting it. So I'll keep showing up, and I'll keep saying it clearly on the record. This district doesn't have a parent engagement.
Thank you. Megan Tenneman and Ryan Hazinski, I think.
Megan Tenneman, Sarasota County Schools parent and candidate for School Board District 4. As I've traveled throughout our community, I've had the opportunity to meet parents, don't worry, not on school property, who send their children to our district school. Just like Sarasota has amazing schools, we have amazing parents and guardians. Those parents have shared with me what they love about our district and the schools that their children attend. We are proud to send our kids to Sarasota County School. Yet, there's a disconnect between our board and those who elected them. I'm here today on behalf of those who cannot attend because this meeting time is scheduled in the middle of a workday. Parents have joined forces and established monthly meetups, not politics, but a path for progress. These parents want their rights protected, something our board majority has time and again stated they value and uphold. Here's what your community is requesting. We want a school board that values quality public education for our community and cares about every student in every day in words and actions. There is currently a disconnect in how resources and instructional models are distributed across the district. There should be an honest conversation about how we view and treat teachers in the school district and community at large. Keep politics out of education, support learning and growth for all students, and keep schools safe. Our voices are not heard. We speak up in meetings, emails, and on social media, yet the board votes do not reflect what the community asks for. Above all, we miss seeing our students celebrated at board meetings for things like STEM Fair, art awards, sports victories, and academic achievements. These aren't crazy requests. They're requests for transparency, leadership, and protection of all parental rights, the rights of all parents.
Thank you. Ryan Hazinski, if I'm saying that correctly, and then Carol Lerner.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That is correct. Ryan Hazinski, Hillsborough County. It's been about a year since I came before this board. Thankfully, this time I did not have to drive down to Northport to get there, but I'm happy to see all of you again. Big changes take a long time, and I wanted to come here to express my gratitude to Sarasota County Schools, and particularly Superintendent Connor, for helping nudge our mission along at the Ardent Blockchain Education Initiative. Sarasota has been the only school that has really taken us up thus far on what we have to offer, which is completely free. This is a philanthropic aim trying to bring students all across the Sunshine State into the 21st century to make them aware of the technologies that are rapidly changing their lives, whether that is blockchain education, artificial intelligence, or more. I first had a meeting in the summer with Megan Green, Kira Bryant, and Nate Francis, and Michelle Anderson. Again, thankfully, probably to your nudge, and I appreciate that very much, Superintendent Connor. We had a conversation about what we could do together in Sarasota schools. This then led to October, when I had a whole presentation about the ABE initiative for the high school principals in Sarasota schools. And now has come full circle where Michelle Anderson, who has done a yeoman's work connecting me with other people, including Stella Karras, who I wanted to give a shout out to from the Professional Development Department. She was instrumental in helping us host the first professional development activity for Sarasota County Schools. And I had literally one teacher, Stephen Crane, show up, and I was thrilled to have one teacher because then it became a very much a one-on-one, got some incredible feedback. And now we're going to do the presentation again. It's called The Road to Bitcoin and Beyond, a brief history of blockchain and digital assets, and it includes a lot of different computer science, many different benchmarks. We're going to be doing it again in August, and I just wanted to say thank you to Sarasota Schools for taking this initiative, and I look forward to continuing to work with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next is Carol Lerner, and then final is Sebastian Martinez.
Good morning. Carol Lerner, Sarasota resident. I'm speaking today as a retired previous curriculum developer, among many other tasks that I did in education, but I held a graduate certificate in curriculum development. Mr. Connor, board members, and instructional staff, and community, you should be very concerned about the new social studies textbooks slated for the 27-28 school year. Those books will contain falsehoods and outright lies that go far beyond the already distorted Florida editions in use today. Sarasota County's good teachers have circumvented current distortions and falsehoods by employing critical thinking techniques, having students consult multiple sources and examine every side of the standards. The new text will make this far more difficult. We all recall the 2023 standard that claimed, quote, some Black people benefited from slavery because it taught them useful skills, unquote, a statement met with horror and condemnation. Earlier, the 2021 civic standards falsely asserted that our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, ignoring that most founders were deists and humanists who championed a clear separation of church and state. In 2025, the Florida DOE rolled out 31 pages of anti-communism standards that, among other absurdities, label Plato a proto-communist, praise McCarthyism, and allege the civil rights movement was tainted by communist leadership. Historians have panned these standards, which were...
Thank you. Final person is Sebastian Martinez.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Again, my name is Sebastian Martinez. That vote was expected, but disappointing. And I also want to voice my support for the mental health walk after school. I'd also like to hear more about information about what that process looks like and what the parameters are for acceptable walks and demonstrations after school. Ms. Marinelli, I often reflect on the fruitful conversation we had after a Tiger Bay event, I believe in 2024, where I felt like I learned much about where you're coming from, your life experience, and how that informs your decision-making on this. And I felt I got to share with you how sometimes members of this community can feel frustrated. And so again, I want to just communicate that and in no way trying to disparage any board member. But when community members say that this board majority isn't focused on our students, we mean that, and in the spirit of a history lesson, it's the firing of our superintendent, redrawing our school board maps for worst maps for million. I mean, it means ripping up a resolution saying that you would serve all students, a toothless ICE resolution, removing protections against discrimination for LGBTQ plus students, looking into how we could identify documented and undocumented students. None of those items actually move the needle on academic excellence in our schools. And it's not like you don't vote on other items that actually do move the needle on that. But all of those items, those hours spent at board meetings or hours in conversations that could have been done somewhere else. We could have been talking about other topics. You could be hosting town halls, not as necessarily a whole board, but in your individual capacities. You campaigned, you asked people for money, you asked people for their votes, but you don't engage in your social media. As an elected official, you have a unique opportunity to mass communicate with, to educate community members, and to bring them into action, to advocate things for more funding for our students, for our teachers. So if you support our teachers, you support our students, I ask that you use your platform to actually reflect that, and that's for everyone.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for today and any items on the agenda. We will move to general board member comments. If anyone wants to start, if anyone has any comments, anything? Bueller? Mrs. Barker, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to take an opportunity to highlight the amazing things that our students are doing at the end of this school year. Huge congratulations to Fiona, who happens to be a classmate of my daughter's, on her beautiful design here. I was thrilled to see the Bayhaven Odyssey of the Mind group do so well in states and now representing us nationally. I do wish that those children could be here so that we could recognize them in person. That said, I had a couple other things I wanted to bring out. I was really floored when I poured through the audit, the independent audit that we had done on our district. That is an enormous undertaking. So to our finance team and to every bookkeeper out there and every principal out there and every other member that made that audit happen and function, thank you. I know that was hours and hours and hours and hours of work. So to our CFO, many, many thanks. Because here's the good news. I read it, so maybe now you don't have to. It was beautifully boring. This is a wonderful thing in an audit. to be beautifully boring. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, if you're looking for juicier reading, I would recommend the audit of the Florida Empowerment Scholarship, which is our taxpayer-funded vouchers, because that audit actually had some really hair on fire information. If you're looking for juicier reading, I highly recommend that. And I do think that as financial stewards of taxpayer dollars, that the standards that we hold ourselves to as public school districts should be the same standards that our state holds themselves to when they use our tax dollars as well. So that, I think, would be helpful for our legislatures to remember. In addition, I am also interested, thank you to that person who brought out the mental health walk. I would be very interested as a mental health professional in understanding what that may benefit and looking into that. And what else am I missing here? Oh, we're going into Maycember. It's my favorite time of the year. All the stress and no presents. So, to all the parents out there who are working and ready for Maycember, Godspeed. I'm right there with you. We've got this, almost there.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just also wanted to highlight, and I'll just reinforce, congratulations to Fiona for the I voted sticker. I think it's just as cute as can be. And also to our Northport High School students for having the vaping task force and letting their concerns be known. And thank you, Superintendent, for attending that and continuing that work that started 2 years ago on that. So thank you. And also to the Bayhaven Odyssey of the Mind students, congratulations. And then last week, several of us attended the Sarasota High ACE recognition dinner and awards, and that was just a very joyful occasion. The students were so respectful and so excited about their achievements, and their parents, so congratulations to them. And I also would like to comment on the audit, and as Ms. Barker said, it was extremely boring reading, which is good. And I think it also stresses that, you know, our schools and districts are using the money appropriately, and the few areas that were pointed out are being addressed. And to all of our staff and at the school level, because having the district be audited is a very stressful thing, because you're worried, did I do the right thing? And this shows that we're good stewards of the money. None of us are getting rich by any our funds from the taxpayers, and I think people need to know that their money is being spent in the correct ways, especially at our schools. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start out by saying congratulations to Dreamers Academy and Mrs. Chaffee. You've worked extraordinarily hard to build a great community in a strong academic environment for students, and I commend you for that. With that in mind, I do want to say that I think it's important for the community to pay attention to folks that, well, for starters, they have initiated using the boardroom as a campaign stand, and pay attention to the school choice piece. There's a lot of information coming from individuals that vouchers are the whole woes of the whole school system. And I can tell you, before the word voucher existed, as a principal and an educator, I was a full believer, and I continue to be, in students being able to go to the school, private or public, that best meets their needs. I want students, as I always have, to come to public schools, to come to this public school, because we are building innovative programs. And and students can thrive in those environments. Our woes are not vouchers, and I commend our legislators. This is also a forum that uses public comment to campaign against our legislators. I commend our legislators for giving parents scholarships and the opportunity to make a choice, something that has been a part of my belief system for quite a while. I wanted people to come to the schools that I led, like Sarasota Middle School, because I was the best, and not because I wanted to eradicate that they had no other choice. Exceptional student education, special education, which I'm certified in, doesn't come good, bad, or ugly, or great from vouchers. It comes from high-quality educators. And for the individuals that want to talk about that this board member's political or that board member's political, and that we should care about teachers, I am a teacher. I spent my life serving as a teacher, and I'm still a teacher at heart. And when you come into this boardroom and you make campaigning and politics your game with your prepared speeches and organizational supports and promote student walkouts and et cetera, you are the ones that are telling teachers that politics is okay. And perhaps that's why we had a teacher recently who was sending out emails using public email, Sarasota County public emails, to encourage staff at that school to attend one of your campaign fundraisers and to collect the signature petitions. So this is running rapid in our district, and I'm going to tell you that you're not helping. If you want to help, get involved in the innovation, in the programs. I mean, this started a few years ago where this has become the political forum for running for office. And for those of you, the candidates that aren't using it in that way and are here to learn, I'll be voting for you. Thank you.
Mr. Edwards.
I'm going to start with a smile. Let me start by saying that teacher pay is not compression compensation teacher pay, which is a specific topic, a wide range of teacher pay we've discussed up here. Academic achievement is not discussing the reasons behind the achievement gap, which was what I was inferring. And we have been diverted for months in areas, specifically one that really does bother me is that we chose to eliminate a handful of students who attended the board meetings for their, and we traded that handful for the other 36,000 students that are not invited into the room to celebrate their achievements. And that is a sad trade-off in my personal opinion. The other place I want to just point out is the night that I sat here, or the day I sat here, and was judged by my fellow board members about my speaking, I never answered until today. And the reason why I don't answer is because of the righteous indignation that keeps coming back that they know more and they know better. And I am bringing all this up because I just think that the topics that I bring up, those are just handfuls. The public deserves the right to hear our positions, because here's how I handle compression. Here's how I handle achievement gap. Here's how I handle the mental health climate. I have to talk to the superintendent privately. And he's not allowed to tell me, based upon sunshine laws, what any other board member's positions are on a particular topic. And that's unfortunate because we're elected to be able to have an open, honest discussion, debate sometimes without it being a righteous indignation. And that is what is troubling and why often I sit here and try to just stay in my lane about why I'm going to approve and why I don't, because I don't get to enjoy the conversation of debate because it's the way it's done here with this board majority. So lastly, I want to say I am in support of a mental health walk. I would love that. I would love to see more students in the boardroom. And I would say that we do have a retirement event coming up for a lot of employees that are leaving our district due to retirement. It happens every year. I invite the public to attend that as well. But I also request that we have some principals that are leaving us this year that I think is important to recognize in the boardroom. All principals, I don't want to single anyone out. I want to make sure, because it's been a tough time here in public education from my tenure, from the pandemic through. And I think it would be a great opportunity for the public to acknowledge principals, teachers, staff. Please recognize those retirees. They've done an incredible job. And I yield the floor.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to start with a couple components that I think are important. And if you can't handle it, you're welcome to leave. The regular disruption by the four of you or three of you is pretty extraordinary and something the public doesn't get to see, but it really is just incredibly immature. But with that, I think it is important, Mr. Edwards, you bring some things that are vital, and a lot of them when it comes to the compensation piece, and this is a conversation I certainly had with Mr. Connor a number of times, but because it's through negotiation and it's bargaining, a lot of it's privileged where we can't go into detail about it, but certainly when it's ongoing. The compression piece has been something I know this board and various makeups has been something that's been majorly concerning and is not necessarily unique to our district, but when you have the starting teacher pay being elevated, and then in negotiations, almost like Groundhog's Day, I always say this, that it's when you try to make any kind of differentiation, it ends up not being successful, and then those middle teachers end up being probably hurt the most when it comes to the compensation piece. So we do have conversations when we're in negotiation as board members. Again, that is, it's privileged because it's part of bargaining. So I can't go into too much detail, but to your point, Mr. Edwards, I believe those conversations certainly do happen as a group. And they are important. And these are, if you look at historical components of where we are and why we are here, historically, we've been property values were going up. We had 1 year, which I opposed the millage because it was just an automatic increase. We had an unexpected amount of revenue coming in. I think that was the year, was a 7% raise on the base salary, not supplement, which is like a bonus. And these are situations that truly do put financial strain because you don't know what that projection is in the future. So year over year, these things have played a role into where we are. In addition to the decline of enrollment, again, not exclusive to Sarasota County. You look across the state, across the country, blue states, red states, some with voucher or whatever you want to call them, empowerment scholarships, and some without them. It's happening all over. California has thousands of teachers being laid off. You have, I think it's Hillsborough County just north of us, 200 plus teachers they've just announced. It's a macro issue, but then when you take our responsibility here, it's evaluating what can we do when it comes to financial decisions. And it's painful when we have to take anything away. That's the hardest part. And that's why when you add something, you have to say, what's the sustainability of this? Whether it be a program, whether it be a raise, whether it be a grant-funded piece. That's why last meeting I brought forward, and thank you to Mr. Parento and Mr. Connor, who already worked on the policy that we'll be bringing forward that will add some guardrails when it comes to non-recurring funds when it to be utilized for positions. All of these things are dynamics that we need and we do focus on, which flips me to all of this quote-unquote distraction. I support all of the things that I brought forward, and I recognize that there are other people who won't. But the time frame that is apparently that people are saying is a waste of time is the amount of public comment. Well, I don't want to cut out the public comment, even if it's just because we don't agree with you. So that doesn't make sense. This district supports, and I have a very strong record on it, when it comes to public comment and allowing people to speak. If you have a handful of people that want to speak about something that they oppose, you're willing to do so. We're not going to stop you, but we're also still going to continue to address the very important issues like spending, like achievement gaps, like compensation. Those don't stop. So, and then brings me to the 10 o'clock meeting time. We have a larger population of seniors than anything else. And many had been attending our meetings, but couldn't do so because they would go into the late hours of the day. Honestly, if you want to come and speak at any time at 10 o'clock, it is on every topic and every meeting, you're absolutely willing to. But we have been able to address very important issues, get the business of the board done, and still not undercut public comment. Someone did a history lesson, and I think this is important. I think maybe some of you may have been showing up, maybe you don't know, but a whole different board makeup. Tom and I were still here, and I adamantly oppose this. A way to restrict public participation was to adjourn the meeting and then allow public comment, and then to put camera on the back of an individual's head. I don't ever hear any of you guys complain about that. How disrespectful can you be when you think about that behavior? So I encourage you to keep coming. If you don't agree with me, I'm fine with it. Your antics don't really impact me because it's the same thing over and over again, and it's really more personal than about policy with you guys. So I understand that. I'm a big girl. But I'm very proud of what we're putting forward because we're putting guardrails in important areas. And if you don't like it, a lot of them have to do with activism and politics. So it speaks volumes. At the same time, we're going to be able to continue to push the needle forward and protect the environment so that children are learning and not focus on the activism that you so deeply want to continue to be pursued inside of our schools. As I will add one final piece, is that we have worked a lot of different things when it comes to targeting and trying to improve areas, particularly ESE. It's disappointing to see certain compensation pieces that we had negotiated before taken away, but the evaluation of it, was it really driving the needle or not? I know that was assessed, but these things it's frustrating to see where we are from a financial standpoint, but some of them are avoidable. And you just have to be honest about where we're going as a district. We spend a lot of time fighting the choice piece, some of you, versus digging in and doing and making us the best choice. I feel very confident in our superintendent and that leadership team because they focus on how to make us the best choice instead of anything else. And that's how you win. That's how you succeed. So with that, I appreciate the work of this board and the superintendent and leadership team and all of our teachers. I have been very blessed to be able to have conversations with many of our teachers, many of our principals, and to see how things are going because this is a trying time. And I will say that many of them just recognize that it's tough, but these decisions have to be made, and it's onward and upward because we can't keep our eye off the ball when it comes to academics for students. I'll leave on a high note and want to commend Ryan Chase, Principal Ryan Chase at Sarasota High School for winning his National Leadership, am I gonna get that right? I didn't write it down right here. National Educators Leadership Association, I don't know. He was recognized from a national level up in DC, and then, as was addressed by many of my board members, Bayhaven, as well as Fiona for the I Voted piece. I know we are moving into graduation, end of year ceremony, lots of events coming up. And was mentioned also a retirement celebration for all of those who are retiring. So please keep an eye out for that. Our next monthly work session is Tuesday, May 5th at 10 a.m. And our next regular board meeting is on Tuesday, May 19th at 10 a.m. If there are no additional comments. Oh, Mrs. Rose.
I just would like to add the narrative that is being fed to this community and to teachers on an ongoing basis in this boardroom, that as you commonly refer to 3 board members as the board majority, that we don't care about teachers. For the record, this board majority fought behind closed doors to get teachers the highest increase in compensation that ever occurred in this district for more than 1 year. So for the record, we made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, I have one more piece I do want to highlight because this was also brought up at the board, the Board of Education, State Board of Education meeting, because there are a lot of financial constraints taking place across the state, and there is a strong look at the administrative costs. I know that Mr. Connor broke that down specifically I think it was our last workshop, and I really encourage you guys to look at that. I think it illustrates an apples to apples comparison year over year, which is very, very important. But one other thing that I think is really important, because as these conversations take place, it's easy for narratives to take off without really context. And when it comes to the perception that there's this bloated administrative piece, that's why I was very encouraged to see that being outlined as it is, so that people can truly see what the facts are. But in addition to that, it must be noted that one concern I know I have raised many years, that historically, whatever the raises that were negotiated automatically become the raises for administrators. And then there's a large swath under the administrative title that does it's at various levels. But Mr. Connor one of his first things is put certain caps and controls in, so that those costs and expenditures are in a controlled elevation component, which is important. That did not exist before, and I think is very, very vital to really allow so that you have sustainable systems working that avoid financial situations that we are finding ourselves in. But in addition to that, as I had mentioned to him, I think that moving forward, while it's a practice, it's not in policy, but these are the moments where we really have to get out of that practice that administrators are assessed separately than the negotiated bargaining units, and a conversation will be moving forward too. But I encourage people to look at that slide. I believe it's on the website still, Mr. Connor, which has a apples to apples year over year comparison, where you look at all of the expenditures, the enrollment, the administrative costs, and you'll see that it has actually remained where there are some bumps a couple years ago that you'll see where there were some elevated ones, and then they have been reduced as well. So I just want to make sure that the accurate information's out there. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily agree with it, but let's at least get down to the point where we're talking with the facts and the true reality versus what people want to kind of manipulate it to be. All right, without that, if there are no additional comments, without objection, we stand adjourned.